Charles White, when working in commercial effects, was the process in creating for a client linear? Or were you developing parts for multiple commercials concurrently? How did the pipeline work? So when they say linear, they mean make a piece, get it approved, make another piece, get it approved, make another piece, get it approved. Every client is different. And clients, forgive me if you're a client, we're all clients at some point. Clients can be surpassingly stupid about the mechanics of what you're doing. I don't mean that as an insult. I just mean that sometimes they're coming to you and they have no idea what they want. And some people just want to hire you to keep getting it wrong while they yell at you. That's certainly one type of client. Some people want you to guide them through the process. Some people are going to be great in the beginning and terrible at the end, but that is really rare. And here is where I want to talk about a great thing that Jamie Heineman gave me a long time ago. I had been working at M5 for about 2 or 3 years at that point. So I was now occasionally taking calls from clients and working on bids for Jamie. And this bid came in for a build. And so part of making a bid is, someone comes to you and says, I want a thing, but it's undefined. They want an effect, but they don't know how they want it to occur. They want it to look a certain way. There's always compromises to make. So the process of doing a bid is a process of doing drawings and comparisons and having meetings and making sure you're all on the same page. And this client that I was doing a bid for, it was tons of back and forth. Every time I sent them a new thing, it was wrong. It was not the right thing. It was awful. I kept on checking with Jamie. I would work on the set of drawings and presentations for the client, take them to them, and everything was like, go back and do it again, go back and do it again, go back and do it again. And after about 3 weeks of this, Jamie said, call them and make this job go away. And I was like, what? And Jamie was like, let me tell you about Jamie's first rule. Jamie's first rule is, however a person is during the bidding process, that is exactly how they will be in the execution process. And this client is such a pain in the ass in the bid process, I have no interest in them being an actual client paying me dough. They're going to make this a grind. They're never going to be happy. Let's make this job go away. And so I did. I passed them on to Josh and Gray over at Acme Scenery. And Josh called me later and said, hey, listen, dummy, you should call me when you're sending a pain in the ass client my way and let me know that they're going to be a pain in the ass. And he was totally right. I really should have called him. Again, I was very green at that point. The fact is you're going to learn most of what you need to about your client in the bidding process. But you asked about the creating for a client. Is it linear? It is whatever the client needs to get the job done. Some clients want all the stuff up front. They want to see it all halfway done, and then they want to see it done. Some clients want to be part of the process. You got to just adjust your delivery to the proclivities of that client. You got to make them happy. I mean, you want them to finish the job with the story in their head that was fun and I got what I wanted. That's the story you're spinning in their head. That may not be the case, and that may not be your experience of it. That doesn't matter. Your experience, immaterial to what the client's experience is. And I have rarely found that. I have rarely found Jamie's first rule. I've rarely found an exception to it. However someone is at the beginning is the way they're going to be all the way through. Yeah. Last question. Ooh, here we go. Nick Merriweather. Do you have any tips for managing anxiety when asked to deliver creative work on a deadline? He says, I'm a big fan of Corita Kent's idea that creation and analyzation are separate processes. I hadn't actually thought of that, but I'm going to have to look up Corita Kent and read into that because that's an interesting frame. He says he finds that the idea of separating creation and analyzation goes out the window when tasked with delivering work quickly. Yeah, it certainly does. Managing anxiety. I think the biggest issue about managing anxiety is realizing that sometimes you're going to manage it and sometimes you're going to fail. And you still got to be able to work through it. That's for real. Institutional knowledge is one of the ways one manages anxiety. At this point in my career, having worked on hundreds and hundreds of different jobs for different clients and different companies, big and small, and people awesome and terrible, I have a bit of a 1,000-yard stare when it comes to looking at a job and assessing how doable it is. And thus, I think it would be the very rare gig I would get into that I would find anxiety coming up. In fact, I kind of joke that one of my careers is that I paint myself into corners and then I film myself getting back out of them. And, on stage at the Smithsonian, trying to put together 45 separate some odd parts from all over the world to build a Apollo Command Module door, that absolutely, there's pressure to finish it that day. But my institutional knowledge was enough to give me comfort that I could look at a group of things and say, this is doable by the end of today, and I can stop worrying that I won't get to something that is a viable ending by the end of the day. Another way to deal with anxiety is to have someone else going through it with you. Seriously. Burdens shared are lighter. There's nothing like having help to go through something, even if it's someone you can call in the middle of it. So this is the thing I'd love to leave you with. Again, with all the caveats of my personal experience being my personal experience, and it might not track for you for all sorts of different reasons. Talk about what you want to do and tell your supervisor what you're interested in. Show people what you've made and tell them what you're interested in doing. They'll remember. They'll pass it on at key moments. This is how life comes back to you with surprises at key moments. Opportunity. I think Edison said opportunity is missed by most people because it's usually dressed in overalls and looks like work. And that is super, super true. The first step towards any viable employment is learning how to bust your ass unequivocally to get the job done. And lastly, the last thing I want to leave you with is being nice to work with. We are all human beings. We all have our various experiences, plus and minus. When you're in a relationship with someone and you're sharing your life with a partner, you're sharing your whole life with that partner. The good, the bad, the angry, the happy, the sad, the uncomfortable, the pleasurable, right? All of those things. And you don't try and shield your partner from those things. You're going through them together. Work is the same. But it is incumbent on each of us when we're working together to work together. And it's important to keep asking yourself, how easy am I to work with? And to strive to be easy to work with, because you would like to work with people who are easy to work with. It is really important that you be one of them. So ask your supervisor for feedback. Ask your coworkers for feedback. Ask your partner for feedback. At one point, my wife and I were measuring parts of our house, and she was like, "You want me to help?" And I was like, "Yeah, if you'd hold the tape measure, and I'll give you some instruction." And then I was like, "Okay, put the tape measure over there. I'm going to get this number." And I went into supervisor mode. And at the end of 20 minutes, my wife was like, "Damn, is that the way you are at work?" And I was like, "I guess." And she's like, "That was kind of intense." And I'm like, "Well," I turn on my "let's get this done" mode, and I just start getting it done. But that was a great perspective to have from her, that there was an intensity to that I didn't track from inside me. I literally want my tombstone to say I was easy to work with. Seriously. And I'm not always easy to work with. I am moody. I am high strung. I am type A. I am complicated like any human being. And I don't think that I hit my marks every single time at all. And I'm sure many of my team are like here and there as they listen to me talk about this. But the goal is that we're all having fun while we're doing what we're doing and living our lives. That's the goal. That's my goal. My goal is that I want the people around me to enjoy their work, feel satisfied by it, feel fulfilled by it, and also enjoy doing it. And that's also what I want for myself. I want to enjoy my work. I want to find it fulfilling. I want to feel like I'm contributing. I want to know what the big picture is. I hope that some of this has been useful. I know I keep saying the last thing is, but the last thing is pay it forward. If someone gave you advice at the early part of your career, reach out and give advice to a young person. Even if you are venal, even if you only want what you want for yourself, that is still the right thing to do because it pays dividends in the future. Being generous with your time and your knowledge and your energy and your advice is an investment. It's an investment in the future. If you're a venal and you want to look at it that way, go right ahead. Capitalism, man. It doesn't matter to me. But being easy to work with is one of the best ways to stay employed I can possibly think of. I have met people who were genuinely like not the sharpest tools in the shed, but so delightful to work with. They kept their jobs for years and years and years because they slotted into the place they were in the right way that got everything done and everyone was cool about it.
Thank you guys so much for watching that video. If you'd like to further support us here at Tested, one of the best ways you can do it is through a Tested membership. And there's a link below as to the various levels of Tested membership, but it's so much more than just exclusive videos. There are exclusive videos, but there are also live stream Q&As. And the thing that I love most about the Tested members is the interactivity, the wonderful communication between not just me and Tested members, but our whole Tested team. Every single day, it feels more and more like a community just devoted to the joys of making things. So join yourself up and become one of us.